down my boat!
Hi everyone, and welcome to Canadian Redneck Channel. My name's Dave, and today we're ready to start part 3 of our 584 engine rebuild. We'll be installing the pistons on the connecting rods, rings on the pistons in the engine, and probably get a couple more things done in there too while we're at it. So to start with, we'll get our pistons on our connecting rods. I'll move the camera around so you can see what I'm doing, and we'll get started. Our connecting rods are not numbered 1, 2, 3, 4 from the factory. They do have an identifying mark on them which goes away from the cam, and that's important now so we can get the piston on the connecting rod the correct way. Our pistons have an arrow on them that points to the front of the engine. I'm not sure if you can make it out on the camera, but there's a little arrow there pointing towards the front of the engine. So for us, the front is that way. Okay, this is our identifying mark, and it goes away from the cam this way. So we will just set that up in the vise here to hold it. A little bag with circlips in it that was stuck in underneath the wrist pin there. You want to pop that out of the way. And those wrist pins just shove out by hand. They're pretty simple that way. And we'll want to get some oil in here in the bushing. Now these connecting rods have had new bushings put in and reamed for proper fit on the new piston pins. There we are. That just pushes into place, and we pop our snap ring in so that it goes in the groove. And we're just going to swing this around. It's always a good idea to keep your thumb over those lock rings just to kind of stabilize them, because if they snap loose partway in, they can fling across the room and get lost. They can hit you in the face, hit you in the eye. So it's not a bad idea to just kind of keep them steady so they don't go flying all over the place. In this case, the rings come in a little envelope, and they're marked 1, 2, and 3, top, second, middle, and bottom groove. Bottom one, of course, is the oil ring. So we'll try that again. Carefully. Oh yeah. Gotta try to get it over the piston. There we go. And keep the spring inside the ring. And we carefully work that down by the top 2 grooves and into the bottom groove. There. And that spring expander will go back into place. That's one for our middle groove. And again, you check them. Sometimes they'll have a mark. These ones do not. But on the profile of the ring, which is going to be really hard to see, on the inside edge, there's a little notch out, and that goes to the top. Carefully into the proper groove. That's sticking it behind. There we are. And there we are. There. Again, we check out the ring. No marks, both edges are square, so that one doesn't seem to matter which side is top and which is bottom, so we just slide it on. Whew. Boy, those are stiff. That's what she said. There we are. Holy crap. Okay. Not really supposed to, but I'm gonna try. Yeah, there we are. Sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. And you do that 3 more times and you have pistons ready to go in the engine. Okay, we're ready to start putting our pistons in. And we're going to start with number 2 and number 3 because those journals on the crank are already down. 1 and 4 are at top dead center. We'll put 2 and 3 in first, rotate the crank 180 degrees, and then put in 1 and 4. We'll start by inserting our connecting rod bearing. Make sure that you put the tab on the bearing into the notch on the connecting rod. Oh, yeah. And then we want to stagger our ring gaps. You don't want the gaps lined up perpendicular to your piston pin because that's where the most pressure is on them on the cylinder. So you don't necessarily want them right over the wrist pin either. So what we'll do is we'll put these 2 gaps on the compression rings 180 degrees from each other, and we'll put this one over here to the side. Piston ring compressor on. Yep. Make sure you don't be pressing the lever while you're tightening that up. Seems to have them tightened in pretty good, I think. And now we're going to put some oil down the cylinder. Make sure it coats well. There we go. Make sure we have our arrow pointing to the front of the engine, and carefully set this down in. we are. And you don't want to use too much pressure, because if you don't have the rings compressed enough, they catch on the cylinder and they can damage the rings and the piston. So just a light tap. There we are. That is number 2 piston in place. So we want to get a hold of our connecting rod carefully so we can slide it up around the crank without damaging the crank. There we are. We bring it up tight. I'm going to put some oil on it. Our cap, we put the bearing in just like on the connecting rod. Careful with these nuts, not to over tighten them. They only tighten to 18 foot-pounds and then plus 120 degrees or 2 flats of the nut. Okay, so we want 120 degrees, which is a third of a turn, or 2 flats of the nut. So we need to pay attention to that. We need this to line up here. Oopsie. set our engine balancer in now and time it to the crank. This seal race I slid on after I put the front cover on because it's easier to slide it in through the seal than to slide the seal on over it from the other side. And it has a pin in it right here that indexes to the timing gear on the crank, and also indexes in this notch on the front pulley. I'm not certain it's totally lined up with the gear, so I'm going to slide the pulley on and wiggle it, make sure that it's all the way in place. There we are. That's good. Then this wedge lock goes on. Big flat washer and the bolts. Alright, we're going to call that end of part 3. In our next video, we'll be putting on the cylinder head, setting the valves and that kind of thing, so stay tuned. As always, if you have any questions or comments, you can leave that in the comment section below. Please subscribe to my channel, like the video, and as always, have a great day.